Look at this. You gonna show us Murph or one of those?
Why so much weight on the bar?
Right with the CrossFit jab. Right.
No, I think.
Bill, we're building an impressive back today.
Let's show some of our favorite techniques to the viewers.
And I figured I should start since I have the most impressive back out of the three of us here for sure.
I see.
Actually, I'm going to show what I wanted to do is I wanted us to teach moves that are unconventional or that you don't see a lot of. I think most people have seen your standard deadlift, your seated row, your lat pull down, your basic dumbbell row. I feel like those are all basic movements. But I wanted to show some secret moves or some moves that we've used over the years, either ourselves or with clients, to really develop an impressive back. This was probably one of the first variations of the deadlift I started doing that really changed the look of my back, and I noticed a big difference and carryover from it to other lifts, which we're going to do what they call a snatch grip deadlift or a wide grip deadlift. So I'm going to get in This
is gnarly for the upper back.
I love this movement. I'm going to get in a normal conventional stance as far as my feet are concerned, so whatever is comfortable for you. But the thing that's really varying and changing is how wide we grab the bar. So we're going to grab the bar real nice and wide. I'm going to sit back. I want the bar over the midline of my foot. I sit back on the hips. I want the slack out of the bar, and I come up, pull the hips through.
You're going to get a lot up in here from this exercise.
I come right back down into that position, sit back on the hips, arms are straight, hips through.
Snatch grip deadlift.
Those are gnarly.
Excellent. Now, of course, you want to keep in mind, you're probably going to have to squat a little lower, obviously, with the wider grip.
Of course.
So if you don't have the mobility to do that, you can use a rack, but your goal should be to get to the floor.
And you want to start with a little bit lighter weight. So I obviously conventional deadlift a lot more weight than that. The
5 more pounds.
The grip alone is super challenging to hold on to. So you'll notice that, we've had people ask us too, how great ways to build grip strength. Here's a nice way to do that while you're also building the back.
So I've had clients who have trouble feeling back exercises in their lats. So they'll do rows, they'll do all these movements, and then they've never had a lat pump. I've had a lot of guys tell me that, never had a lat pump. So I have a superset. It's a pre-exhaust superset. Some of my favorite ways to do supersets, where I pre-exhaust the lats with a more of an isolation movement, and then move to a compound movement. So the first exercise, one of my favorites, it's almost a forgotten exercise. You don't see people do these that much anymore, and it's a dumbbell pullover. So you're gonna lay on a bench, and you can lay across the bench. I like to lay lengthwise on the bench. You're gonna use one dumbbell. You wanna grab the top of the bell with both hands, elbows slightly bent, but fixed. What that means is I'm not gonna flex or extend my elbows anymore. I'm just gonna fix them in this slightly bent position, and I'm gonna reach back and down. You wanna get a real good full range of motion, and then pull the dumbbell over your face and repeat. This is lats. My lats are doing a lot of the pulling here.
Yeah, before you go to pull, really making sure you engage your lats, and then we recruit and get that to respond on the way forward.
So after I'm done with this exercise, I immediately switch, so it's a superset, so I go right to a dumbbell row. So I grab another dumbbell, lean over with good posture, row the weight, squeeze the shoulders back. And now I'm working the lats again, but with a lot of other muscles contributing. So I just isolated them with the pullover. Now I'm doing the compound movement. I dare you to do these and not get a lat pump. You'll feel it. You'll get the lats to pump.
Yeah, we'll get those things to fire up. Another way too that's been really challenging, I feel, for a lot of people is to be able to include a power move into their routine, especially for the back. So I noticed as an athlete, we would do certain exercises and my back would still develop, even though deadlifts and pull-ups weren't really as part of the routine. My back still had pretty great development to it, and I attribute that for the most part to power cleans into that initial, what we call the high pull, because now I'm eliminating my legs, getting more of the emphasis. Now I'm really focused on that initial drive to get my back and my upper back to respond explosively. And so this is another one too. If you're not including anything explosive, you'll notice an immediate response that will be to your benefit. And so
definitely more advanced for sure, right?
This is definitely a more advanced move, and I would show you on the barbell, but I feel like this is
easier to learn.
A little bit easier, even though it still has its techniques and it's a pretty complex move. It's safer, and I'm keeping everything pretty controlled within my midline of my body. So I'm gonna squat, pick them up, and I wanna get into that hip hinging move, but the hip hinging move is really the explosive part where then I'm gonna pull in this upward fashion, my elbows out wide.
And you're kind of throwing them up.
I'm throwing them up. So I get that dip, and they come up.
You know what you develop with this exercise? What they call the yoke. Strength athletes fondly refer to the upper back and trap area as the yoke.
Look how neutral, though, he still keeps his spine as he's
Excellent.
coming down. He keeps a nice, rigid spine the entire
Excellent.
time.
It's hard to talk doing those. I'm not
Of course, no, and I wanted you to keep moving like you did so Doug could get a really good shot of that because
It's a fast movement. It's ballistic.
it is, and it's
not controlled.
for sure advanced. So I think what we just taught, this is probably the most advanced movement for those of you guys that have been lifting for a long time. If you don't include power and you start to incorporate a move like this, huge gains right away just from a great movement like that. But
Well, just starting with a hip hinging basic swing is going to do you a lot of good, just to get the first part of that movement. But once you've had the good established mechanics with that, this is a great way to then focus on developing the back's explosive potential.
And I would probably start with this if you're doing whenever you do like a routine. So let's say you were going to do all these exercises in your next back routine. Start with the most mechanically driven and go in that order first.
Yeah, go explosive first.
So this is probably the most mechanically driven, meaning that it's the most technical, the hardest for most people to do. So start with this. Then I would probably work my way over to the deadlift, the wide grip snatch grip deadlift that we taught, because that's also pretty mechanically driven. And then the last one would be like the isolation type movements that Sal taught we would do for the last one, because it's going to be a little bit easier in comparison to the difficulty of all those.
There you go.